Okay, item D is Buildings and Grounds Budget. FY15 Buildings and Grounds Budget is presented for approval. Mr. Henshaw.
I believe that begins on page 15, is that correct?
Yes.
Tonight, the recommendation that will come is not everything that we talk about tonight. So we'll specify exactly what the recommendation is as we go through this. So we have buildings and grounds recommendations, but I also want to give you a picture of the capital project overview as things that we're looking at doing, that we've talked about doing from long-range planning. And so just to remind folks at home and people here that we developed a long-range plan back in 2007 with assistance from the community. 5 subcommittees reported back to a long-range planning committee. And really, their work, I won't read those to you, but that describes what their responsibilities were and the purpose. This is a working document that we will obviously begin to review again in 16-17 because it's really been very beneficial, I believe, to the school board and to the district and community to have a plan. Although, since it's any working document can change, it has to be somewhat fluid, but it gives you direction in what we're trying to do. So we have some flexibility, but also some well thought out plans. The long-range plan recommendations that came from that committee are up here on the screen. One of the most important, and Buildings and Grounds really emphasizes that the committee felt it was very important to take care of our current facilities, and that's that first one there, maintain and upgrade and update through planning. Early childhood, we've talked about that, and I'll talk about it again shortly tonight, but that's a long-range committee recommendation. Performing Arts Center, we discussed that continually. That's still on our plan. The co-curricular programs, that section about upgrading, parking expansion, field improvements at our current facilities, as well as some of the facilities that grew from those plans. So that's one we're going to talk about tonight with working on the track and that area. We started that process of updating it last year, and so we've got some things tonight that we'll talk about as capital projects. But we called them out separately from the buildings and grounds because obviously that would be a construction project, and actual bids will be taken, and you'll have to approve that separately. So we'll get to that. Buildings and grounds for FY15. This it condenses some of the information you have. The top 2 lines are critical and important items. Those numbers for 15, and as a board you ask for kind of the last 2 years each time to just kind of see where we are heading. On your documentation, those are there as well through each page for representing each building or area that we spend money for buildings and grounds. The combined total of pages 15 through 28, you should find that on page 28. Then page 29 is other major facility improvements, not necessarily construction projects. Some of them are, there's a boiler on there, which obviously those major expenditures we take bids for, and we would always come back and ask you for approval or acceptance to award that bid. So those are still dollars there that we're spending, obviously, and that's $482,000 from that page. We do have an amendment to that page that I'd like you to consider, and that's an additional $5,000 on the line that's talking about the RTI security entrance. The number that you see on your page is around a little over $19,000. And after reviewing that, after this document was printed and put in the packet, there were a few things that we needed to address as well. The idea is in this is to move the office and secure that area as we have been doing in some of the other buildings, the high school entrance, the junior high entrance, where people can be viewed coming in and out. That building, if you are familiar with it, the office really has no view of the entrances. So to relocate the main office down, and I've got a diagram for that later. So once again, we'll ask you to amend that by $5,000. So the new total on page 29 would be $487,264. The total for buildings and grounds in FY15, then the recommendation would be $902,110, which is taking 414 and adding it to the new total for the major facility projects. Okay. Now, once again, I said that's what we're going to ask for approval tonight. There's some other things that obviously you as a board were thinking big picture things, and you need to know those because they impact the capital projects fund. Not all of buildings and grounds impacts capital projects fund. There's dollars coming out of the operating fund, and then there's some dollars out of those pages that are coming out of capital projects. So this is to help you kind of get a bigger view. Projected fund balances, as Vicki shared with you, a little over $8.5 million is what we're projecting for the ending of FY14. District technology commitments that would be coming out of, that's not her total budget, but that's the amount that we expect will be budgeting to come out of capital projects. Transportation, through request through the director, the intention is to add 3 additional buses, 1 special ed and 1 route bus, 1 trip bus. The difference, trip buses typically have the cargo bays underneath. The buildings and grounds, so this is the dollars that are coming out of capital projects, the 598. So that's part of so that hopefully that's coming out of the capital projects, the others coming out of operating. Okay. RTI Culinary Arts program that we're beginning this year. Right now, that number, we find that at about $1.1 million, and that's an estimate using our architect. Now, that includes, kitchen, dining area. Remember, the rooms that we're remodeling were the machine shop area, so a garage type area, and all the kitchen equipment and those type things. Now, what I put in here is not, we want to be as transparent as we can. That's the estimated total cost of the project. We're expecting to receive enhancement dollars. We've applied for enhancement dollars, which would be revenue coming into this to cover some of that, as well as matching funds from the resale of items that we've surplused. So the net impact we're estimating between $500,000 and $600,000 out of capital projects. But if I would have put $500,000 or $600,000 up there, then it appears like we're trying to somehow skirt the issue that this is the total cost for starting this program. That includes HVAC. That room's not air conditioned. We've got to have all the venting for stoves. That area's got 4 teaching areas in it, work areas for cooks, those type things as we start that new program. So it's exciting, and I know the numbers that Matt's been getting, FTEs look good for signing up. First semester, these students will be in a classroom that's got some kitchen equipment in it. temporarily. Our desire is that this new room will open at second semester for those classes. If you recall, we had to approve the program and get kids enrolled before we could qualify for any enhancement dollars to help pay for it. So what you'll see, I'll get to that in a second. This is just a quick diagram. Forum is to your left and 10th Street's above. This is just a small, that section where students normally enter off the buses. The red line would be where the second wall will go, the airlock. And so the blue area there would be the take that space and turn it into the main office. And we'll add a window in that brick wall so the office has some view of people coming in and out. And we will be able to force, just like we do at the junior high, during the day we can lock the interior set of doors, and all people entering the building will have to come into the office before they have access to the building.
Needs to be done.
So I think that's a good plan, and we're going to do this through our building trades programs to help save dollars, what we can.
Yep.
And then the actual installation of that window and that brick wall, we'll do some of the work, but also bid that out as well.
So the other entrance, 10th Street side, will just be locked?
Yeah, it will become like a side door to the building. So the main doors will be here.
And how will you do, what's the timing on that as far as?
This we plan on having before school opens.
So really, we're changing the whole entrance of the building, because historically, the entrance was that 10th Street side.
If you were a patron
age,
coming,
but-
if you were a patron coming, but literally every student that gets off a bus
Yeah, I
that's dropped
understand
off
that.
goes in this set of doors. So, and these doors currently are unlocked. They stay unlocked because we have students coming and going literally
Yeah.
every 40 minutes to an hour, hour and a half. So I think it'll improve the security of this
Yeah,
building
yeah.
by leaps and bounds. And we'll need to move a flagpole, probably, which will designate the front door. Culinary arts, this is just a quick shot here. You can see the dining area with the round tables there. This is just a quick site plan of that area. The kitchen is up toward the top above the dining area. And as I mentioned before, this will serve the classes. We're looking at trying to carry 15 FTEs in that morning and afternoon sessions for sending schools as well as the Rolla School students. And then we'll remodel the classroom that's on the left there that's got some of the desks you can see. Just did a quick shot of the floor plan. The plans are about 95% completed, and we expect to put those out to bid with your approval probably June, and then receive those bids back and award a bid in July. So construction would start in August with the plan to be done by Christmas. And this can be done without affecting the function of the building.
Will any of that be done by our students?
Yes, we've taken responsibility, everything in the dining room area and everything in the classroom area. The kitchen area, we're writing the specs where everything in that is the responsibility of the general contractor. So we sat down with Mark and really made sure that the documents that once you all approve them, that they're accurate and we can get good bids from a general contractor and they know what their responsibility is. But yes, our students will be able to do some of that area.
Oh, you may have already said it, but
Sorry.
what's the approximate square footage of the area we're working on?
I want it's about 4,000 square foot, including the dining room, kitchen area, and the classroom, those three areas, somewhere in the neighborhood of 4,000. We'll have more of those details as we
Sure,
get ready to
sure.
present the final plans to you to send out to bid. Community track improvements. If you've been over there, just to give you a little history, that track was originally a Resolite track, which is it was a sand-based asphalt track when it was first built. In 1997, 98, the Resolite track was resurfaced with a overlay of asphalt and a latex track. Since then, in 2007, we had additional latex put on it, and if you walk the track at this point, there's a couple of major issues. One, there are some places where we're through the 2007, we're through the 1998 down to the asphalt. There's other places where the 2007 latex covering, to be quite honest, began to come loose because of a breakdown underneath. As you build layers up, the old layers underneath give way. And so we've had several track companies come. Most recently, a couple of weeks ago, had a track company to come down and who did the original track. They didn't do the resurfacing in 07, but they did the actual original track in 98 when we lifted it, to take their recommendations. None of those people really, the recommendation is that you do not add just rubber to it. To get our value, the recommendation is that we take the current rubber off, come back with 1.5 inch lift of asphalt to get rid of any low spots, those type of things, cracks that we have. We do have, like if you look down lane 4 and 5, between that we have a crack that runs down the entire front straightaway. Not major. We can still use our track, but you know, if you put rubber on top of that, within a year, it's going to come back through. So really the only way to resolve it is to go back and come back with a good overlayment of asphalt, and then come back, and the recommendation is to go with a polyurethane. It's called a structural spray mat instead of a latex. Latex is kind of the 1980s, 90s type base. To go with a structural spray on top of a urethane mat will be in the neighborhood of $220,000 with the asphalt to upgrade the track. So that's that number you saw. Okay?
And that doesn't include any bleacher work in that figure?
Correct. Kind of our long-range plan that we've talked about is, one, getting the asphalted area and upgrading the concession stand. We've done those two things this last 2 summers. The next stage was to upgrade the running surface itself, and then try to address seating, and as well try to address parking lot as we go. You know, each one of those is a major undertaking. So as we look toward next summer, you can expect to be talking about either asphalt parking or seating to upgrade this facility. I'm leaning more towards seating right now, and so that's a budget number that's on down there. So to just, I'll be glad to answer any questions, but here's our thoughts. Those, I think I'm sorry, this number right here, we got that, right? We talked about those?
Yep.
Okay. So, once again, you won't find the track on here. You won't find the culinary arts out of these numbers right here, because we're asking you to approve this part of it. Those would be awarding bids as we come back. The intention is to have the track done by the start of school. The intention would be to have culinary arts completed by second semester. Any questions? So my recommendation is that you accept the buildings and grounds for FY15 at this time of $902, $110.
I will make that recommendation to approve it.
I will second that.
Further discussion? All those in favor of Jane's motion, please say so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Kelly.